Hello all. Thank you so much. Firstly, I want to, this conversation was actually supposed to happen on Facebook, but we ran into some technical glitches and we were just unable to go live on Facebook. So we have now moved to Instagram and I've requested Praveen ji to join. Thank you so much to those who were on Facebook and had to make this shift. Hi Sindhu. Hi Aparna. Padmaja, hi. Samira, hello. Hi Shweta. Just going to see if Praveen ji has joined. Hi Shweta. Hi.
Namaskaram.
Hi, Praveen ji. Namaste. Looks like we were destined to meet on Instagram and not on Facebook.
All destiny.
Destiny, absolutely. Thank you to everyone who's joined this conversation, and huge apologies on behalf of Alap for this delay. Also, sorry, Praveen ji, we had to make you wait for a little bit. Sometimes, you know how technology is. So sorry about that.
No problem. It's all a learning process for all
Yes,
of us.
absolutely. Is Praveen ji, your camera is a bit shaky. Let me just. Yeah, it's better now. Can somebody just give me a thumbs up if they're able to hear me and Praveen ji, please?
Hello?
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, somebody
I
said.
might just turn the comments off for just a little bit. This conversation is actually a prelude to a very beautiful workshop that has been curated by Praveen Kumar. And we, on behalf of Alap, are very, very excited to present this. It's called Art Thou, and it intends to unravel the beautiful, multi-layered, multi-faceted compositions of the Haridasa poets. But before I engage in a conversation with Praveenji, I want to formally introduce him with a short bio. Only for the benefit of those who don't know him. I'm sure most here know him, but just for, it would be nice to kind of revisit his resume in that sense. Initiated into dance at a very young age and hailing from a family full of artists, Praveen Kumar, Bangalore-based, is one of the most sought-after artists of India. After coming under the tutelage of eminent gurus like Guru Srimati Narmada and Professor C.V. Chandrasekhar, Praveen Kumar realized the aesthetic depths of Bharatanatyam and decided to dedicate himself wholeheartedly and purposefully to this ancient dance form. A strong adherent to the traditional values of Bharatanatyam, he is also an accomplished Nattuvanar and a choreographer, and of course a fabulous teacher. He has created several dance productions, some very experimental ones, which we will be speaking about as well, and has traveled extensively across the globe and in India, and has performed at prestigious dance festivals and runs the Chitkala School of Dance in Bengaluru. Thank you, Praveen ji, for agreeing to be a part of this conversation. We really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you for making me a part of this. Thank you.
Praveen ji, also I want to acknowledge all the support that you have given Alap through this lockdown by responding to our emails, being part of the many conversations that we've curated. Sometimes it is small gestures like these that really keep us going, and I want to publicly acknowledge that support and thank you very much for that.
No, I'm sure it's just not me. I'm sure many other artists will also agree that, at times like this, when you don't know sometimes where to look in for some solace, I think your Alap has always been like a savior, So you have, in fact, given us some hopes, some new kind of energies, like a virtual energy for all of us, to keep us, to keep going, to make sure that art should not die, it will sustain, and that should always be a part of us. So I'm
Right.
sure we all
Right.
of us are thankful for Allah for this.
Thank you. Praveenji, talk to us about how you have responded to the lockdown. What is your lockdown routine like?
Honestly, not much has changed for me this lockdown, because I kind of have my regular routine. Like my mornings, they start with my yoga. Then I do my dance practice. I practice irrespective of whether I have shows or not. I've always done that. That's been a part of my daily routine as such. The only thing during this lockdown that's a major, which I kind of miss, is my dance classes, which I teach. Because there have been moments of students coming to my place to learn and go, this constant interaction between the students, that has
Right.
been missing as such. Otherwise, my other parts of my daily routine is going as ever.
Just
Nothing
like
has much changed.
right. Right. But do you feel that through this lockdown, many organizations, including ALA, we turn to artists to find solace, and for artists to share their work, because we felt that arts in itself has the ability to help people cope, has a transformational kind of quality about it. Could you talk to us a little bit about how, as an artist, you turn to dance as a sort of anchoring, and why do you think dance has the ability to help people cope and move forward?
Oh, definitely. Personally speaking, for me, art has been a big, big healer for me. Um, I'm saying, see, there have been stages, different kind of stages for me. Earlier, when I used to go when I was learning in Bangalore with my first teacher, Guru Narmada, for us, going to dance class was more like a picnic. So there was a lot of joy when you went for a class. So we all had a good time going to the dance class. So there was always this happy mode, which I used to come back. Then later at a stage when there is some hardships in your lives, which you go through, some different phases in your life, definitely dance has helped me a lot, because many times I remember when I used to feel a bit disturbed or something low, the first thing I would do or look out for is just go practice for some time. And it's not the matter of how long you're dancing. Even if sometimes I would have just danced, I would have practiced in the morning for an hour or more than an hour. Then sometimes there are moments, sometimes you feel a bit low or something. I would have just gone back to my dance studio and I would have danced for another 10 minutes. I'm back in my toes. I'm back in my action. So in that way,
Right.
art has been definitely been a healer for me personally. I think I'm sure many people will agree with that also, because
No, for sure.
once you dwell into arts, I think it becomes a part of your system. It's just not no more just like a one more entity. It is a part of your routine. It is a part of your system in that way. And
Absolutely.
in today's time, yeah, I think even when you look at when we go attend a performances, in an auditorium, when we see a large number of people gathering, there are
Right.
specific number of people who would have specifically come to just watch you or a particular
Right.
artist. But there are
Right.
some people who would have just come in just to feel something good and nice, because many people
Right.
just attend dance and music shows because they can go back home with some good feeling somewhere here, so that they can spend the rest of the day with a nice soothing smile on their face. So art has always been a healer, irrespective of whether you're an artist or not. I would say for every human being, art is definitely a big healer, and it gives you a lot of solace for you, because for each one of us we find solace in different ways, whether it may be physically, some maybe emotionally you can find solace. Some people find solace through intellects, through arts, and there are some people who find it in a very spiritual way also. So I think
Right.
art is like a it's got this so many layers which can
For sure.
uplift any human being in any way. In a nice, it's a nice, good way to spend your time.
Absolutely. Right. So Praveenji, like now, have you moved to have you moved to teaching online? I mean, are you taking classes online? So because you don't get to meet your students in person?
No, actually, I've not done this online class at all. So for me now, through you, Alap, through the invitation of Alap, doing online is a big revolution for me to kind of discover how to go about.
Right.
Because honestly, I'm not a very tech savvy guy.
Okay.
So initially, when a lot of my senior students asked me, let's do online class, I was a very bit hesitant. So what I did was during this lockdown, I would give them like a small task, and I
Okay.
would just give them like a jati or something, or record a particular line of a varnam. I would give it to them, record in an audio and a WhatsApp and send, and I say, work on something and send me the video. Then I said,
Okay.
I will discuss with you. So online classes such I've never done. So this will
Right.
be a new beginning for me, definitely for sure.
Right. Praveenji, I'm going to ask you about you've learned from two, amazing gurus, both Srimati Narmada and Professor C.V. Chandrasekhar. How has, just the art of learning evolved over the years, number one? And how have you kind of, learning from two gurus, how have you retained those value systems in the way you impart, dance to your students?
I've been very fortunate to have learned from these two great gurus, I should really say. Uh, because from both of them, for me, I've just not learned the dance part. I've also learned the values of life being with them.
Hmm.
Because I remember going with my first teacher, if I want to talk about Guru Narmada, for us, going to her class was more fun. For
Yeah.
us, it never mattered as what we are going to learn, what we are going to do, or after Jatiswara, what is she going to teach. We were never interested in that part of section.
And
She
how
just
old
made
were
us.
you, Praveenji, when you went to Guru Narmada?
I started my dance learning when I was 16 years old. I was in my
16.
first
Okay.
year college. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was just more of a fun. And like I said, more than dancing, we would talk more. And after the dance, sometimes after the dance class, we would go out for like a restaurant to have some idli or something like that. So with Narmadanti, the class was more like a fun. But when it came to teaching as such, she gave us a lot of freedom for you to express. She would teach a particular item. I'm just giving you an example. Suppose there was
Yeah.
some movement of something, Diditai was this. And by
Right.
chance, I would have ended up doing Diditai this. She would never
Okay.
say, oh, no, 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 don't do
It's
this.
not. Huh.
Yeah, she said, as long as you're doing your advus properly, you're doing
Form.
technically everything fine, just go with the flow. Yeah, so she gave that kind of freedom for all of us to kind of explore our own body, our own dance, like that. So it was more of a fun, joyous kind of a thing learning from her.
Process.
After coming to Chandru sir, for me, it was a new opening in on a higher professional level. Because till then, for me, dance was just like a jolly trip, picnic kind of a thing. But working with Sir, it made me realize dance is just not about physicality. One has to read a lot of things. One has to watch a lot of things. And there's constantly, you need to be aware of your own body when you're dancing. Because, sometimes I keep telling my students, be aware of your own body when you're sitting in a posture or when you're holding your hands, anything as that. Because sometimes unknowingly, without, we might end up looking a bit in a haphazard way when you're dancing. So these are like small nuances, but they
Nuances.
add a, yeah, they bring out a lot of change in you when you're aware of it. So working with Chandru sir, that was a big eye opener for me. And
I can
he
imagine.
would make even a simple adavu look very interesting. I remember after some stage, I always used to feel Allaripu is such a boring item. I said, no, no, no. I would rather prefer to do a Varnam or a Tilana. Allaripu is for beginners. Like that. I had that kind of concept.
Yeah.
But coming to Chandru sir, he made me realize the beauty of Allaripu. So now whether I do or sometimes when my students are dancing, I try to make sure that we start with an Allaripu. It is such a beautiful item. Now, every time, even when I practice, I enjoy practicing Alaripu more than the other compositions as such. So he made me
Right.
realize the beauty of the compositions. It's not about Kautvam, Varnam, Alaripu.
Right.
Even any small compositions, you can bring out the joy.
Joy.
So these values and how to carry yourself also, in life, that is very important.
Yeah, for sure.
Because sometimes when you come across some hurdles in life, you're a bit taken aback. You don't know how to
Yeah.
react. But both my gurus, even both Narmada auntie and Chandrasekhar sir, has shown me how to deal with it, not to get too perturbed, because sometimes you can't find a solution for such things. We just have to find a solution within that to handle it, the situation, rather than, what has happened, you can't kind of bring back to it in any proper way. So to find a solution within whatever sources we are having, to make the best use of those resources and move on with the life. So
And
for me,
and that is,
it's just not
yeah,
about dance. It's also about the personal life, handling it
yeah.
and balancing it in a nice way.
I mean, that's beautiful, Praveenji, because my next question really was about how every time we've seen you dance and every time we've interacted with you, I met you in the Natyakala conference in December, there is a quality of calm about you. And I wonder, I often think about, I look at my yoga instructors, for example, and how by virtue of practicing yoga, they have obviously practiced with so much consistency and discipline that it has become a way of life, that the practicing of physical asanas has translated into the way you live your life. And I often
Exactly.
wonder if that's what is supposed to happen when you actually make dance your way of life, right?
Yeah, see, definitely. See, when you meet a person or when you speak to a person, you can kind of gauge the upbringing also, right? The ambience of
Correct.
the house.
Right.
Sometimes when we see a chill, because see, I never used to notice these things. Now, when I have a class, when I see a kid coming to my class to enroll, you can immediately make out of 4 5 classes, you can kind of make out what is the kind of ambience that kid has come from and the upbringing that shows in you. And particularly when you're learning from gurus like this, obviously the thought process is from them. Like I
Right.
said, because you're not just learning dance. I mean, I always feel that if you want to learn anything or be, I think learning is when you become a part of somebody's life also, because you're not doing a journey of only your dance, you're also a part of your teacher's life,
Beautiful.
because
Yeah.
they share their personal things with you, you share your personal things with them, so you kind of see the balance what is happening there. So
Right.
for me, I think I've always just followed the thought process of both these teachers of mine, my gurus, and in fact both of them, if you see, uh, they're very calm and composed
Oh,
people.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because I suppose, I think those qualities
I invite. Yeah.
unknowingly has become a part of me also, I think. So
Right.
definitely those credits will always go to my parents and my gurus for whatever
Sure.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
is.
Pravinji, do you enjoy teaching? I mean, is it, do you enjoy working with students, and what is it that you learn by virtue of being a teacher of dance?
Oh yes, I've enjoyed teaching very much more because I am a very people's person. I like to be around with people.
Right.
So I don't like to be alone as such. Maybe except on stage, I would love to do a solo anytime.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But otherwise, I would love to be with the people around.
Surrounded by, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, teaching as I've always enjoyed because each time when you're teaching with different age groups, it's very interesting the way we need to interact with them. If I'm
Right.
teaching with a 6-year-old kid, my way of interacting is very different to a teenager or to my senior girls who are all in like now in 20s or maybe a little more elder people sometimes who come and learn from me. So for me also it's been enjoying because I'm constantly interacting with different age groups.
Right.
So for me it's nice to know their way of life and because each one comes from a different generations also, right? So
Right.
sometimes you can get updated via them actually,
For sure.
because
Yeah.
many things which I am not aware, suddenly my students say, "Oh, sir, we can do this, like that." I'm like, "Huh, okay." So I'm also constantly learning from them a lot. So,
Correct.
like I said, see, whether it is learning or teaching, there's always that two ways there,
Interaction.
giving and taking back.
Yeah.
No, so even when teaching, I'm also learning a lot as I teach them. I'm kind of relearning my old compositions also. Many times
Right.
I would have never thought like, why is this? I would have just mechanically danced. So when I teach now, I it
You
makes
take
me
it down.
sense as yeah, then I realized oh, why my guru has composed or choreographed this composition, the flow, why is it the flow like this? So I've
Right.
realized it now more than what I was learning at that time.
Right.
So the process has been very interesting. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it.
Also, Praveenji, I've also almost asked all the artists this question. That also, like, as you journey in your life as an artist, you also you kind of come into the skin of a composition a little more, right? So a composition that you may have learned in your 20s, and when you do it, when you learn it, when you perform it in your 40s, you probably you kind of respond to it differently. Correct?
Yes, very much, very true. In fact, I keep telling my students also, when we learn a composition, it is just not to learn a composition. It is also to understand the composition, and we need to keep doing it over and over again or perform the same piece couple of times. By the fifth or sixth time, you see a big change in yourself with those movements because your understanding is very different.
Different.
You know, yeah, because like I said, initially when we learn, we're learning it more on a very physical level.
Hmm.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Yeah.
to give an example, it may be Abhinaya piece or a Nritta piece also.
Okay.
Somebody teaches you an Adu, okay, you're just doing it. We just do that because we're
Yeah.
more looking at technical part. Then
Correct.
there is a time it comes, you start relating to those movements, relating to those words
Right.
slowly. That's one stage.
Right.
And then comes one more like intellectual stage wherein you start analyzing those compositions. Why is it so? Or
Hmm.
what is the context behind it? So it's like it's a journey of it's
It's
a
like,
journey.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we go from 20, 30s, 40s. So these compositions also, but one has to keep doing this.
Yeah.
We can't just do this composition and
And
say, okay, I'm done. I'll
yeah.
work on a new thing.
Yeah.
I have there are a couple of compositions which I've been doing over the years, and each time, sometimes even when I'm practicing the same thing, I suddenly realize, oh, maybe I can interpret this in a different way.
Right.
It's the same thing, and it makes, and I've seen it that sometimes many people have come and said that we can see a different dimension to it, what you have added to the composition.
Right.
So I think any composition when we learn, I think doing it over and over again, I think there's
Right.
a saying, right? Old wine tastes better.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like that. So you keep doing it over the years, it gets into a beautiful shape.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Also, Praveenji, the thing is that I often think that like when you look at dance or like a composition, it's the sort of coming together of so many aspects, right? One is the technical aspect, then there's movement and all that, and then of course there's the poetry, the music, all of that, right? So, and you have, your work is often known for a very, very deep, nuanced unraveling of all these many layers: poetry, music, movement. Could you talk about what is your, choreographic process? How do you kind of, engage with a particular composition to kind of translate it into dance?
Yeah, for me, this, like I said, my understanding of a poetry or a composition has grown over the years as I've performed and I've started to teach also. Because for me, sometimes teaching has helped me to understand the composition more. Because sometimes when you choreograph for yourself,
Right,
you're doing it, sometimes you're not aware of the flow because you're
right,
trying to remember your movements, then you're trying to see what ideas can you put.
right.
But I have realized personally that when I'm teaching somebody, I suddenly feel in this composition or a poetry, I would like to have a pause. Sometimes I like these pauses in my dance, whether it is nritta or abhinaya. I've always liked these pauses because sometimes these pauses can give you a different
Yeah,
meaning, and
perspective.
also
Yeah,
yeah, and also it can kind of bring out the beauty of the poetry of the next word also. So suddenly, so there are many points I've used a silence, and then I've continued with the next line of the poetry or the composition because I felt because we don't know in what context the poets have written this, because we are bringing our own interpretations, we are bringing in our own thought process to it. So sometimes, suddenly, when you go through these layers of their lines, you suddenly realize, oh, there is something else to it also. Because it's just not like one word, you take a line. I'm just giving an example like if you take a composition of, like, say, in most of the compositions in Kannada of Haridasas, you'll find these names like Mane. Mane means house.
house.
Yeah, so I would always do it as, okay, house, house. Over the years, when I start thinking, then you realize when he says money, it doesn't have to be like a
Literal
technical
house.
house. It can be inside you,
Yeah,
reside here, you
yeah,
know,
within.
within. So because see,
Yeah,
that is what they're trying to say something. Because we are only thinking from the outer world of, like house, okay, house.
yeah, yeah,
But there is so much meaning to it when you deeply look into it. So
yeah.
that's when you start analyzing and say, let's bring out that beauty of it.
Right,
So I like to use like these small ideas into the dance, which can bring out a different dimensions. And also,
right,
as an artist, I think that's one nice way for you to understand the beauty of that also, of
right,
the poetry, of the composition. And
right.
like I said, the pauses in this music, even the pauses, they kind of speak to you. The pauses doesn't mean there's only a silence. The pauses can
Yeah,
also give you many meanings. It can give you many
yeah,
emotions also. So when you bring in all these aspects into your work, uh, I feel there is something very interesting to look upon, to
right,
see or observe or something like that.
right.
So,
Yeah. So, Praveenji, even though your work is rooted in tradition, you've constantly also innovated and experimented with and within the texts, right? Could you talk about some of your experimental work and how you've tried to look at, like you rightly said, look at things and unravel another new dimension or look at things in a different perspective. And why do you think it's important for a traditional Bharatanatyam dancer to look beyond, you know, uh, existing framework and kind of all at least attempt to reinterpret existing framework?
Yeah, coming to the first few of my works is I've done one production called Pandharpur. This was a commissioned project from the Narada Gan Sabha, wherein they were doing a thematic festival,
Right.
and they gave me Pandharpur and they said you need to work on it. Honestly, when we think about Pandharpur, I was aware of Panduranga Vittala as such, but I had never heard about Abhangs songs.
Right.
I knew Abhangs were there, but I never had, I never took an interest to hear Abhangs or not much, honestly. So that was a big challenge for me to see. And when you look at Abhangs, it is mostly a Hindustani compositions. It's
Yeah.
more of that Maharashtra side. So
Maharashtra. Yeah.
there's nothing very Carnatic, very South Indian kind of a
Yeah.
thing as such at all. So for me, it was a big thought process to see how do I bring that into Bharatanatyam, because my form is Bharatanatyam, and how do I do that? So I just thought I use the same Abhangs. I used a Hindustani singer. Instead of a mridangam, I used a pakavas because I wanted to give the feel of the abang as it is, but within the medium of what I am aware of.
Mm.
For me, it was a very new feel because I've always danced for a Carnatic vocalist, mridangam. So suddenly, when you hear some Hindustani singing, because my body's kind of conditioned or tuned to Carnatic music, because you've been hearing it over the years, then suddenly your body has to react to that kind of music.
Yeah.
It's totally different. So that was a one interesting. For me, it was very interesting when I worked on that whole concept and when I presented, and many people came back to me and said it was a fresh look to see Bharatanatyam with these aspects as such. Keeping a Hindustani musician or working with the pakavas. And I never used a Natvangam also for the
Right.
Tala
Okay.
section. So I asked one of the musicians who did Natvangam for me to use a Manjira.
Okay.
Because for the Abang, they have a different kind of
That's what they use.
the
Yeah.
Tala, this thing. So even that sound was very different. Yeah, so even though I used the jatis, so I never had this regular Natvangam Talam. So I had that kind of a sound. So I had to kind of tune into myself for that also. So that was one interesting thing which I kind of explored to do that.
Right.
And and I think, yes, I think we need to explore different avenues also, because if you really see, Bharatanatyam form has got this wide scope of stretching itself.
Yeah.
Whereas other classical art forms, if you really see, they have some kind of limitations, or not many people have kind of explored. Wherein as Bharatanatyam, see, we can do a padam, we can do a javali, you can do a bhajan, we can do an ashtapadi. If you want, you can also do a tumari also tomorrow. You
Yeah.
can do a abang. So that I think the form
Versatile.
itself, yeah, the form itself kind of lends you to open up, explore. So I think we are fortunate that we are in this form of thing wherein we have got this opportunity to explore something. So we can kind of spread our horizons. So in that way, you're also open up to many ideas to see what works, what doesn't work.
Right.
Like recently, I don't know, I'm sure you must have seen in Natakala conference, I did this very small composition wherein it
Right.
said that about from different parts of the body, it says the alphabets came.
Right.
So I was wondering, how do you show these alphabets in dance? Because it's quite challenging, because
Yeah.
we have alphabets, we have so many languages, and we have the the akshirams are so different in Kannada, Tamil, Hindi, and
Yeah.
everything. So I was always wondering, how do I show that, and how do I bring in the nritta aspect for that also? So I
Correct.
kind of made a small tirmanam using the alphabets only. I used
Right.
I, E, U. So instead of a regular tirmanam, I kind of used those alphabets and tried using a tirmanam with those alphabets. Then I tried to show some movements of the alphabets with the language which I am familiar with, because I am familiar with Kannada. So I tried to do those movements through dance, those like I mean we had something like this. So I kind
Right.
of used more of my torso movement of kind to show that,
Right.
just to see how I can bring the relevant thing together as such.
Yeah.
So these have been interesting works. I mean, I have attempted, I would say, uh,
Right.
but it's always nice because this form gives you that
Freedom.
exploration to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the freedom to do it. So I think one should also do it, because if you really see over the years, every artist has brought in some new flavor to the Bharatanatyam. Everybody
Correct.
has given something.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
if you really see, we are all very lucky, because for us, there's already a good
Yeah.
structure
The repertoire.
was
Yeah.
already there. They gave it to us. They said, now you take it forward.
Hmm.
So we already have like a ready-made one.
Yeah.
We're all
Yeah.
in trying to bring in to see
And
what best we can add to that, make it more beautified,
enhance it.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so that's how it is. So I think everybody should try out something new and
Right. Innovation is the name of the game. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Praveenji, what is your relationship with music? And why do you think dancers, Bharatanatyam dancers, must, engage with music or study music or have cultivate a sort of a deeper relationship with music? What is your point of view on that?
Oh yes, music is very, very much important. See, for us, dance, for any song, the first thing we always react is to the music.
Hmm.
You just give me a word. Sometimes we might see, oh, this poetry is beautiful, very nice. But the moment you put a tune to it, automatically, as a dancer, you suddenly get some images in front of you,
Hmm.
because of the music.
Hmm.
Then it's like the moment you listen to any tilana, you automatically start swaying.
Hmm.
Your body will then, even if I'm sitting and watching a program, I might not have done this tilana, but
Hmm.
even if the dancer is doing, my mind is running with some movements
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the music.
Hmm.
Because
Your first response
music
is the
also,
music.
yeah, because we all dance to music. It automatically, there's some part, even if you're a non-dancer, you see somewhere,
Right.
so if somebody is just keeping your hand, they'll automatically do this.
Start moving. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, there is a rhythm in all of us, in like fingers and everything. Like yesterday when you were talking with Askar, that is the reason I asked him, when he moves his fingers, I can see there's so much of
Yeah.
dance in it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
he's basically trying to move his fingers to the music.
Yeah.
But that is because the fingers are reacting to the music. It's just
Right.
not a movement, it is
Right.
reaction to the music. So I think one has to be aware of music, and I would say listen to the music a lot. I
Hmm.
would, like, as a dancer, we watch a lot of performances. I mean, I do. I go watch every other performance, irrespective of whether I get invite or not. If I like somebody's,
That's a
I
great
just go
point.
land
Yeah.
up. I just go land up in the auditorium. I sit and I watch. So same way, because I stay very close to a sabha in Bangalore, Bangalore Gayan Samaja, which is just
Yeah.
like parallel to my street. So if I come
That's
across
wonderful.
some singing, Carnatic singing is happening or anything, if I'm interested, I just walk in, I sit there for some time, listen, I come back. Because when you listen, there are many ideas which comes to you. Some many
Right.
unknown songs which you're not familiar, you feel like, okay, let me try this out.
Yeah.
So these ideas will come. So music, I'm sure, should be a part of every dancer's routine.
Right. Fabulous. Also, talking about our workshop, Praveenji, what is your relationship with the compositions of the Haridasa poets itself? And could you just shed a little light? I mean, I'm sure you're going to share a lot with our participants, but just something in terms of your personal rapport and relationship with with these compositions, and why do you react and respond to them?
Yeah, see, Haridasa's composition, one is mainly it is in Kannada.
Hmm.
That is my local language. That's my mother
Correct.
tongue. See, we
Correct.
always have, all of us have this one thing in us. The language which you're familiar with,
Yeah.
the moment you hear or you
Great.
see, we react to it immediately. You
Because
you
we
don't have to
think in
put
that
an,
language, right?
yeah, because automatically we react, and
Yeah.
this constantly, even your body will react to that.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, so one for me is these Haridasa's compositions have always interested me because, like I said, when I'm doing other languages songs, I have to be aware of the sahitya,
Hmm.
the compositions part, the lyrical part, wherein I knew okay what comes, what next. So I have to make sure the words, then I have to make sure of my emotions, I have to make sure of my hand movements, my posture, everything as a dancer. But sometimes with compositions like this, I don't have to think too much about it because I know my
Yeah.
body will go with the flow of the
Automatically.
composition. One is that aspect.
Yeah.
Other is these Haridasa's compositions are very interesting because if you see lyrically, they're not of very heavy structured wise. You know, they're
Hmm.
not like padams wherein it's got like heavy sahitya.
Hmm.
Or musically also, they're
Light.
very light. You know, but
Light. Yeah.
actually it surprises me because we
Because
say Purandaradasa is the Pitamaha of the music, you
yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But when you look at the compositions of his, it is not like some very like heavy
Yeah.
ganaragam or something like that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's very, you know, it's very accessible for anybody.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
the language, the tune. So the moment you hear to it, you will kind of sway your head. You know,
Hmm.
sometimes I joke with my students also. You know, if you choose a very popular composition, say like Jagadodharana or Baro Krishnaya or Krishna Ne Begane Baro, it has got such a popular appeal. So 50% of your battle is already won
One.
because the moment it's sung, people will start enjoying it. So for
Right.
us, only 50% is job is to make sure that we bring out that beauty of the music and the beauty of the these Haridasa's compositions. So, but the beauty of these compositions is they're just not like any like a word to word. There is a lot of hidden
Yeah.
values in that.
Yeah.
You know, they speak about the social values, they speak about the moral values of life, and they
Hmm.
speak about even the scenario of the present society also. You know,
Hmm.
so it's just not like a one composition. Okay, we're doing it on Krishna, but there is a lot of hidden layers to it. So when you explore it, you'll find, my God, there's so
So much
much to it.
depth. Yeah.
Depth, you know, because we wouldn't have never thought. Like I was giving you an example, I was always thinking money is okay, house. I
Yeah.
realized later it
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
you're saying come play inside my house is
Yeah.
play here, be within
Here.
me.
Yeah.
Don't go somewhere else and play. Play, just be here, be within me. You know, so when you realize that you see the beauty of it, and you know, you come across the values of life, and sometimes these compositions make you understand life, you know,
Absolutely.
because you know many times we hear many people speak about many things, but you know it doesn't hit on to you.
Right.
But when you do compositions like this, you're like, okay, this is what it is. You know,
Right.
because these Haridasas used
Hmm.
this medium, like singing, as a medium to convey some message. So they were spreading message of life.
Right.
So they use singing as a medium to spread it. So I
Right.
think that this learning this Haridasa or working on this Haridasa composition will be something of understanding ourselves, especially times like this now, because we are
For sure.
all we're all kind of at one place trying to understand our own things. We're all now aware of many plus and minuses of our own things now.
No, for sure.
Sometimes otherwise we will be in our own world just running around here and
Drifting
there.
around.
Yeah, you're kind of juxtaposed with all these things. So now you're aware of these kind of things. Okay, this I can do, this I can't. So maybe I should concentrate on these parts, these things I
Yeah.
should do. So like these Haridasa's compositions, beauty is that understanding them and how close they are to your life, or maybe some qualities we can inculcate to make it a part of your life also.
I mean,
So
it's
these,
interesting, Praveenji, that you use the word money because we're all also stuck in money, and we all have to look within. So it's
good.
I think it's appropriate that you use that word, and it struck me in particular. I have one question to ask you before I throw the floor open to some questions. Are you sitting on the floor, Praveenji, right now, or are you sitting on a
Yes.
chair? And you're
No,
sitting
I'm on a.
absolutely straight. So please do tell me the secret of how you're sitting so erect. I feel like slouching from that time, and I'm feeling a bit awkward that I'm not sitting straight.
See, as a dancer, you're constantly all the time like this. So it's a part of your system.
Yeah,
In
indeed.
I don't know. In fact, I keep telling my students also in the class, even if you're sitting and watching, sit straight and watch. So
Right,
I don't know.
right.
I suppose like you said,
Yeah,
unknowingly you come across many things which becomes a part of your life.
right, for
So I
sure.
think this credit I would definitely give it to dance and to my guru Chandrasekhar sir.
Of
Even
course, yeah.
now, yeah,
He's just
he is.
fantastic. Standing
So
tall. Yeah, touch wood. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, uh, I'm going to throw open the floor for any questions. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to ask Praveenji. But Praveenji, I wanted
sure.
to ask you one question as the questions start coming. Is that when you want to teach concepts like not the literal house, but the house within, how do you teach it to somebody, to a 14, 15-year-old who may find it very difficult to understand such a deep concept, right?
Yeah, yes, that's very interesting actually. Even I have thought about it when I'm teaching, but initially when I teach, I just teach them like a word to word,
Correct.
technically,
Correct.
because that is the first time you are exposed to a particular kind of a composition. So you can't
Right.
think too much.
Right.
As you give them practice or as you keep performing it, you slowly build up the layers also.
Right.
Even generally for me, when I choreograph for myself, I do a structure of it. Then when my structure is there, I kind of start working on little more layers of it, little more of it,
Right.
little more of it.
Right.
No, it's like it's a gradual progression as
Hmm.
such. Even I remember I was teaching one of my student Tanjore Corporate Varnams. So when I was teaching for her, I made like a structure of the Abhinaya part. Then as I was giving practice, some ideas came to me only. Then I started to make it little more interesting with that, and I started to make her also analyze it and make it little more understanding also. So initially, I think when we teach, I mean, personally speaking, I would prefer to teach it straightforward,
Hmm.
and then you gradually you
Introduce the
develop on it.
nuances.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because once they know what is the structure, then you can build on it. You can say,
Right.
look, now this is like this is the point. So we work more on that now. So
Right.
then there is in that way also you're holding the interest of the student also. Otherwise, they say, oh, this is the same composition, I want to do something new. So I would rather make them do the same composition with
Right,
little more thought process. So there is a maturity in their dance also,
right.
when they perform.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Um, someone would like to know what is your opinion towards online class and online dance recitals?
uh, yeah, I mean, I don't think there's nothing wrong in anything, online class or online dance. And I think because this has been a new revelation for everybody.
Absolutely.
It's just not about for dancers. I think every walk of life, everybody is now into this online thing. Whether it
Right,
is meetings or whether it is you, even we want to say hello to somebody, we're all using
right,
now like a
right,
video conferencing call, everything. So
right.
I think this is a one good way for you to connect with the world. So
Hmm.
because you're not disconnected, because see, we
Right,
are at a time wherein it's a lockdown, so we all have to be stuck inside. It's not like only the dancers have been shut, but we can still move around. No,
correct.
the total life, the life of
Has come to
everybody has come to. So how do we connect? See, we all get energies only through connection with people.
connections. Yeah,
We draw energies from people, right?
right.
So that energy now, I agree, it's not happening physically like on one to
Sure.
one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think this technology is helping us to connect in some way,
For sure,
you
for
know.
sure.
So I think we should make use of this opportunity. Of course, there will be a time now, once we get back to normalcy, we will get back to that routine of going back to this performances stage, meeting people. Everything will happen, the classes will happen, we will do. But now I think this is a nice way of
Staying
uh,
connected.
getting staying connected, because like I said, I've been watching some of your alaps interview with
Oh,
people and all these things. It's been so beautiful that I'm getting to understand the artist in so many different ways, because
thank you. Yeah,
otherwise we see them on a stage, with the costumes and everything. Okay, we are like, okay, we are done. But now, as they share their personal things
the
and
human
how they
stories.
approach,
Yeah,
yeah, so you're kind of getting a lot of information from them. You're getting like a lot of gyan, actually, honestly, I would say, listening to these people.
yeah, for
So I
sure.
think I think it's perfectly fine with with the
Right,
present scenario. I think it's fine.
right. Right. Praveenji, one last word of, sharing or advice for young dancers who may be listening. What, according to you, should they be really most importantly focusing on this time, especially this time? If there's something that you can share.
Um, I mean, more than advice, I would say, because if I say I'm giving an advice to youngsters, that will make me sound I'm very ancient, which I am not. So I'm also learning in this process. Uh, but one thing definitely I would tell is to have patience at this time,
Hmm.
which is very important. These are the times when you can lose your patience, you can
For
do some
sure.
crazy things, which I think we can all avoid doing it. The best way I would suggest is try to listen to your gurus. I think your gurus know best what is best for you.
Trust
So
gurus.
because I know I've always trusted my gurus with whatever they have said, no matter what it is. Even I'm saying, even normally, uh, when it was pre-COVID time, I just followed their instructions, their thought process. Even now, once in a while, I call up to my guru, Chandrasekhar sir,
Yeah.
who's in Chennai. We just
Yeah.
have a generally talk. We just do, and he is asking what is happening, what are you doing? I'm sharing what is happening with me. So I sometimes even I do ask, sir. He keeps asking me, are you doing online classes? I said, No, I'm not doing it, sir. So he said, maybe you should try it out. You should do it because that keeps you engaged.
Yeah.
So, he knows, because sometimes just sitting doesn't work. So
Yeah.
it keeps you engaged. Then you're constantly thinking, working on something. Like I remember with any interviews or something interesting dance was happening at your page, I would immediately forward it to my senior girls. I would say, watch or listen.
Yeah.
Or like I saw a very beautiful Malayalam short documentary movie. It was very beautiful. I immediately shared it to my group, to my students, and I said,
What?
watch it. And I said, there's a
Tell
very
me.
particular character. I said, I want all of you to tell me
Sure.
what does that character represent.
Okay.
It is a very much today's situation what an artist can go through. It is a very
Okay.
beautiful movie. So I
What
would
is it
say
called, Praveenji?
it's called Aswadakan.
Okay, sure. Okay,
It's it's
Praveenji,
just
because
a
huh,
it's just a 20-minute documentary piece about a Kathakali artist
okay.
and how in today's time youngsters are so much into this constant on the phone things,
Yeah, yeah.
and being in art, in what way it can affect you at the same way, in what way it can be a boon or a bane to you.
Yeah. Okay, okay. We will recommend that
But
film tomorrow to our followers as well, Praveenji, saying that you
it's
recommended
very
this film.
beautiful, and
Yeah.
there is a character wherein they've showed, if you really look at the end, you know what that character represents. Very beautiful. So I
Okay.
sent this to some of my students and said, watch and get back to me on what these things. So I would
Right.
say, so like listen to like these now like this virtual thing. A lot of interesting things are happening at a time like this. So there are
Right.
opportunities you people are giving us to listen to somebody, to see somebody, watch
Thank you.
somebody. So I think
Right.
we should best
Yeah.
utilize these times in these
Yeah.
things, I would say.
Yeah. Praveenji, thank you so much. The reason I'm interjecting is also because Instagram has a 1 hour time and it will get disconnected. And we, I think, have
Oh,
literally like, yeah. So it has been a very, very insightful interview for me personally. You said so many beautiful things about importance of patience, which is so true, importance of listening, importance of trusting your gurus, the importance of, dancers understanding and tuning into music, the importance of poetry. I think it was a very valuable and insightful session. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing these things. And thank you to everybody who joined in. And apologies for moving this from Facebook to Instagram. But I think it was meant to be on Instagram, Praveenji. So thank you again. Thank you, Subiksha. I'm sorry we could not have you on board because of this Instagram confusion. Thank you for all your support. Big shout out to my team, Suprita, as well. Thank you, Praveenji. Thank you to everyone. Good night.
thank you. Good
Namaste.
night.
Bye bye.